Miriam wasn't just an ordinary woman, she was a prophetess. In Exodus 15 verse 20, it says, "Then Miriam the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women followed her." This verse tells us that Miriam wasn't just a bystander. She led worship. She was an important figure. She had the same spiritual gift as Moses and Aaron. She was a woman of influence, respected, and God used her. So Miriam wasn't just chilling on the sidelines. She was doing big things, leading people in praise and worship to God. Pretty solid, right? But here's where things start to go sideways. Fast forward to Numbers 12 verse 1. Miriam and Aaron began to speak against Moses because of the Cushite woman he had married, for he had married a Cushite. Wait a second. Miriam, this powerful leader and prophetess, starts to speak against Moses, her brother? And for what reason? Because of his wife. And not just any wife, a Cushite woman. A woman from Cush, which means she came from a region in Africa. She was probably dark-skinned. Now, we don't know exactly what Miriam and Aaron said, but clearly they weren't happy with Moses' choice of wife. The Bible doesn't sugarcoat it. They started complaining about her race, or at least her ethnicity. This raises a big question. Was Miriam being racist? The Bible doesn't use that word directly, but it sure seems like they had an issue with Moses marrying someone from a different ethnic background. Maybe they felt like they were better or more entitled to make decisions for Moses. Either way, their criticism was based on the woman's race or where she came from. But here's the shocking part. God steps in, and when God speaks, you better listen. God heard Miriam and Aaron's complaints and called them out for it. But here's the kicker. Only Miriam gets punished. Why her? We don't know for sure, but it's a powerful point. Sometimes God doesn't just judge the actions, He judges the heart. Maybe Miriam was the leader in this complaint. Maybe she was the one driving the narrative. But regardless, God strikes Miriam with leprosy. Her skin turns white like snow. That's a serious consequence. It wasn't just a slap on the wrist. She was literally struck with a disease that made her unclean in the eyes of the community. And here's the thing. God could have punished both her and Aaron, but only Miriam got hit with leprosy. You might be thinking, why leprosy? Well, leprosy in the Bible represents uncleanliness. It was a big deal. If you were unclean, you couldn't be part of the community. You had to stay outside the camp. So Miriam wasn't just struck with a physical disease. She was temporarily cut off from her people. And let's not forget, Miriam was a prophetess. She was a woman who spoke for God. But even she wasn't above rebuke. Even she had to be humbled by God. It's a reminder that no one is perfect, not even the spiritual leaders. But here's where the story takes a turn for the better. Moses, the same prophet Miriam had just criticized, intercedes for her. In Numbers 12 verse 13, Moses prays, "Please God, heal her." And God listens. He tells Moses to have Miriam stay outside the camp for 7 days. After that, she can be restored, but she had to face the consequence for what she did. 7 days. That's how long Miriam had to think about her actions. During those 7 days, she was isolated, separated from the community. But after that time, God healed her and let her rejoin the people. So what's the takeaway from this? There's a lot we can learn from Miriam's story. First, God sees everything, even when we think no one's watching. God didn't take kindly to Miriam's criticism of Moses and his wife, especially when it was based on her race or ethnicity. God doesn't want us judging people based on where they come from, how they look, or who they marry. Second, even leaders can get it wrong. Miriam was a prophetess. She had authority, she had influence. But that didn't mean she was above sinning or being corrected. If God had to humble her, we should all check ourselves, right? And finally, there's mercy. Even when Miriam messed up, Moses prayed for her, and God showed mercy. God doesn't just strike people down. There's always room for repentance and forgiveness. So next time you see someone being judged because of their race or background, remember Miriam. Her story is a reminder that God cares about how we treat others, especially when it comes to things like racism. And it's a reminder that none of us are perfect, but we can always ask for forgiveness and seek God's mercy. All right, that's it. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, we all have room to grow. See you in the next one.